How's it going, YouTube? My name is JVIT, and welcome back to another video inside of Destiny to the Edge of Fate. And welcome to This Week in Destiny. We have June 19, 2025. It's Thursday today, so that means a new TWAB. Everything we have the save the date for the new raid for Edge of Fate. All dungeons in the right of 9 are here. Introducing additive melee damage. We have exotic armor tuning preview, so a lot of exotics, weapons, and armor are going to be buffed. And then last call for the final shape bunch rewards. So if you guys haven't picked those up yet, then this is the last time to do so. But as you can see, Bungie has just made a post. Join us on Tuesday, June 24th at 10 a.m. PT, I mean Pacific time, as we give an in-depth look at the Edge of Fate. We will have the dev team on the floor ready to share many details about Armor 3.0 and the new ability stats system to show you some new weapons and more. So Edge of Fate, Developer Livestream Part 1, that means there is going to be a Part 2 right before this expansion drops. That kind of gives you a little bit of a foreshadow right there. That means, hey, we're going to get another one of these too. So we'll get a Part 1 and probably a Part 2, just like we had with Final Shape. Anybody who watches this on the Bungie Twitch channel will receive this emblem known as the Astromancy emblem. Looks pretty nice. It looks like this is the Vanguard logo. Got the Warlock, Titan, and Hunter on there with a nice light blue little sun kind of background. But enough of that, let's actually get into the most important stuff. If you guys haven't already, make sure to grind for Right of the 9 because it does leave on July 15th, just like how Pantheon did with Final Shape. Guardians, the Emissary, and the 9 are still requiring your attention after making all dungeons available last week and turning on increased rewards for them. We are entering a new Right of the 9 cycle. All dungeons were made active and can be played at players' leisure, but only one of them has increased rewards active, so you can go back and farm for resources and weapons. And if you guys haven't already, just go ahead and farm whatever is the, I guess, best dungeon to farm right now. There's Spy of the Watcher, Ghost of Deep, and Prophecy. We have another update coming on July 1st. The Emissary will start giving away non-area engrams that are filled to the brim with hand-picked cosmetic rewards, spanning multiple years of Destiny 2 content. Some are newer, like hollow chips, and others are a blast from the past, like Crimson Days emotes. That is pretty exciting, because Crimson Days, who knows? They could even sell the freaking right of the Trials of the Nine shader in there. Who knows? But check the calendar below so you don't miss anything that's coming. Here's what we got upcoming in the next before Edge of Fate. So, until June 24th, increased currency drops will be active for all dungeons, so the non-area boosts and all that goodies. From June 24th, all dungeons are available, and one will have an increased currency rewards and a chance for weapons to drop from enemy kills, as well as increased loot from the final boss chest when completing all encounters in the featured dungeon. So certain dungeons will be featured this week. So, for example, we have June 24th, it'll be Spy of the Watcher. So that's going to be the farmable dungeon. July 1st is Ghost of Deep. And July 8th, which is the final week, Prophecy. Starting June 24th, the Emissary will offer a handful of exotics for players looking to round out their exotic weapon arsenal. More will be added each week through the Edge of Fate launch. And then, from July 1st until July 15th, players can earn non-area engrams, and we already talked about what non-areas are. You can pick up some new stuff, old stuff from the Blasted Path, like the Crimson Days emblem. Many players non-area engrams using 350 non-area manifolds, and the Emissary up to 20 during Right of the 9. Starting in July 8th, players will be awarded one additional non-area engram each day for just signing in. Just be sure to claim it from the Emissary. From July 8th to July 15th, Lootapalooza will begin. Increased currency rewards and weapons drop and weapon drops from enemies in all dungeons. Even more increased loot from the final boss chest when completing all encounters. And here's the most exciting thing. Melee damage is changing the Edge of Fate. And this is just going to talk about on how the sandbox is going to work for melee. So the short version is almost all sources of increased melee damage are buff. So anything that like Synthoceps, if you guys get Synthoceps, pick that up because this is a melee-themed exotic. All sources of increased melee damage stack at full efficiency in PvE, and we are using a additive damage increase calculation for melee damage. And then here's how it worked in the past. Most sources of increased damage in Destiny 2 are multiplicative. 2 hypothetical 50% damage increase at 1.5 increase to damage are multiplied together for a total of 125% or 2.25%. So that's pretty dang strong damage increase. This approach to damage increases has some problems. For one, the more damage increasing effects applied at a time, the more powerful they'll all become. which means that the best builds and strategies can start to revolve around simply having as many buffs as possible. So, like Bolt Charge, for example, is very powerful the longer you use it, kind of thing. This is a pattern we saw in Destiny 2 prior to the mutually exclusive empowering damage buff system for weapons. And then balancing the game became more and more difficult sources, blah, 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 blah. For how it works now, though, melee damage increases in Destiny 2 will be additive. That means two hypothetical 50% damage increase will be added together for a total 100% damage increase. Now, this does result in a lower damage ceiling for melee abilities, and it is unlikely that most bosses will ever be one-shot with melee abilities going forwards, but because we do not need to worry about someone stacking these melee buffs and trivializing most content in the game, we can do two very cool things. So, what to expect? We are buffing almost all effects that increase melee damage, some of them by double the damage they do now. That's very exciting. And PvE melee damage. Increasing effects always stack at full value if applicable. And then here's their goal with what they want to do. And then we have some more stuff to go over. I can't speak. Systemic updates. In this new system, every effect that increases melee damage. Give me 1 minute. My computer is about to die. Sorry about that. Melee damage has been converted to use additive damage stacking. Every item that has been changed as part of this has been listed below with a single exception. The new melee stat introduced with Armor 3.0 increases the damage of melee abilities when going over 100 points up to an extra 30% at 200 stat. Just give me 1 minute. I'm just going to pause. Looks like I can't pause it. Okay. That's all I can do for stream. Let's just go back into it because I'm getting so many Discord notifications. So, um, damage bonus provided by the stat is increased to be an increase to the base damage of all players' melee attack and abilities, and is multiplicative with other damage increases. In short, if you're putting together a melee build, you want to get your melee stat as high as possible. So, like your just you want to get your melee to about like 100, but it's gonna go even higher to that. So it's gonna go to like 200. Additionally, melee damage no longer scales. Scorch and ignition damage generated by melee attacks. The logic behind this change is similar to the logic underlying the jolt damage scaling changes we made a while back. We think it's healthier for elemental verbs to have a consistent effect, regardless of the source that applied them. We have opted for a more targeted chance and Xander Stabit and Consecration Slam, blah, 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 blah. Let's just go over more stuff that we have. Let's talk about glaives. Now, glaives are probably one of my least favorite archetypes in the entire game. They're like very unused kind of weapon. So, glaive melee is considered an unpowered melee ability in the EdgeOfFate. Anything that increases the strength of unpowered melee abilities will now increase the strength of glaive melee. Increasing the melee stat, this does come at a cost. While glaives have a much clearer role and have a higher damage ceiling, we need to reduce their base melee damage in PvE to bring it more in line with an unpowered melee attack. But even after these changes, glaive melee has such a higher damage per second output that unpowered melee attacks do. This is what we have in short. Glaive melee is now considered to be a type of unpowered melee ability. They will now receive melee damage increase at full effects in all cases where an unpowered melee ability including the damage increases from Synthoceps, that's one of them, Knockout, Offensive Bulwark, Combination Blow, Spark of Feedback, Warm God Caress, Banner of War, and Stylish Executioner. Glaive melee now triggers all effects that are triggered by any melee ability. So you Titans out there that have a good melee build, this is actually a good opportunity to use glaives now. They will no longer benefit from some weapon damage bonuses, such as Radiant, as it's no longer weapon damage. Effects that modify the behavior of basic melee attacks, such as the Titan Aspect Knockout, that changes basic melee types from kinetic to arc, will not affect the behavior of glaive melees, so it's only going to be like a kinetic themed kind of glaive type ability thing. Glaive melee damage in PvE has been adjusted to compensate for their increased access to melee damage increasing effects. Glaive melee damage against minor and majors have been reduced to 40%. Okay. Glaive melee damage against champions and mini bosses have been reduced to 28.5, and then glaive damage against regular bosses and vehicles have been reduced to 50%. So it is really a big deal when they reduce it. But, like, I mean, for their increased access to melee damage increasing effects. So even though it's reduced to 40%, I guess glaives are still going to be somewhat good. So I don't know, because I don't really use glaives. But then we have ability changes for melees, all your subclasses and stuff. Prismatic. Faucet of Courage. PvE melee damage bonus increased from 10 to 50%. That's a pretty big gap. Arc, get the Spark of Feedback. PvE melee damage bonus increased from 75% to 100%. Now works with Glaive melee at full effect. PvE melee damage bonus is no longer decreased when using with Synthoceps, Liar's Handshake, Knockout, Wormgod Crest, 1-2 Punch, or Winter's Gil. For the Titans, for your Roaring Flames, maximum PvE melee damage bonus increased from 73. Oh, wow. Maximum PvE melee damage bonus has increased from 73 to 200%. That is a big deal. Holy moly. As a note, Roaring Flames increase solar ability damage, and Glaive melee is always kinetic. So we have opted to follow the rules as written for this one for now. So Roaring Flames does not scale Glaive melee damage. So if you're using a Glaive that's kinetic, you're not going to get an extra damage boost when you're using Roaring Flames. The melee damage is going to go on to apply for Roaring Flames, not the Glaive. So the Glaive will still do the Empower melee attack, blah blah blah, but it's not going to change anything when you have Roaring Flames procced. So melee damage bonus is no longer decreased when using with Peregrine Greaves, Wormgod Crusher, 1-2 Punch, or Synthoceps. Knockout. So PvE uncharged melee bonus increased from 100 to 160. So Titans, you guys are definitely getting that huge buff. PvE charged melee damage bonus increased from 50 to 160. Increased melee damage now works with Glaive melee at full effect. Let's see here. Offensive Bulwark, PvE melee damage bonus increase from 100% to 160%. This increases the melee damage now works with Glaive melee at full effect. Melee damage bonus is no longer decreased when using with Synthoceps. Banner of War, where the melee damage bonus for user and allies increased from 40 to 100%. So look at that. Banner of War is actually going to finally be good again. They're going to buff it again. Melee damage bonus is no longer decreased when using Wormgod Caress, Synthoceps, and Glaive melee. That's going to be so powerful. The damage bonus provided to Blade Fury's melee attacks is unchanged, so it's the same. So, and then we got the Hunters. Stylus Executioner. PvE melee damage bonus is increased from 200 to an extra 100%, making it 300. Now works with Glaive melee at full effect, and now works with every melee ability if the ability makes contact while you are leaving invisibility. So it's really good when you leave your invisible, blah blah blah. In other words, projectile melee abilities like Threaded Spike will benefit from the damage increase if you are at point blank. That means you have to be really close to use it. Combination Blow, maximum PvE damage bonus increased from 309 and 400%. Increased melee damage now works with Glaive melee at full effect for the combination blow, and then now works with Ascension and PvE at full effect. Now works with grapple melee and PvE at full effect. And now we're going to go over the exotic armor changes. Let's start off with the Hunters. Atheris Embrace, I hope I'm saying that right. PvE weighted throwness damage bonus increased from 200 to 300, so that's going to be very powerful. It's a big deal. And then we got Liar's Handshake is going to be, in Spirit of the Liar, is going to be increased from 200 to 400 for your arc melee and your basic melee. Ophidian Spath is going to, the maximum PvE throwing knife damage will increase from 100 to 200. And then Triton Vice, which is the exotic chest piece from, what is it? In Season of the Deep, PvE glaive melee damage bonus increased from 100% to 200. And let's go over the Titans. Harder than Most Light. Maximum PvE melee damage bonus increase from 20 to 50%. Harder than Most Light is basically when you use one of your abilities, it will also buff other abilities that you have too. Now increase the damage of Empowered and Glaive melee abilities. Peregrine Greaves, Shoulder Charge ability, impact damage bonus against non-champion, non-tormentor, and non-miniboss targets increase from 363 to 400%. So look at that. It looks like Peregrine Greaves is also going to be good again too. I think it was good though, like before. Synthoceps and Spirit of the Synthoceps, that is the perk on the class item, the exotic class item from Dual Destiny. Melee damage bonus is unchanged, still the same. Melee damage bonus is no longer decreased when using combination blows. You guys get the point. And then damage bonus is still decreased against players when you're using with Lightning Surge. Wishful Ignorance, where maximum PvE Frenzied Blade melee damage bonus will increase from 100 to 200, and then maximum PvE Fletchet Storm melee damage bonus increase from 50 to 200. Wormgon Caress, maximum PvE melee damage bonus increase from 275 to 400. Melee damage bonus is no longer decreased when using with Roaring Flames or Glade melee. And then for the Warlocks, very sad excuse for the Warlocks, we only have the Winter's Guile, where the maximum PvE melee damage is from 275 to 400%. So not a whole lot going with Warlocks right now. But we also do have the weapon changes. So the perks. Let's talk about them. Close to melee, PvE glaive melee damage bonus increased from 130 to 60. 1-2 punch, that's getting increased. That's going to be so freaking good. PvE melee damage bonus increased from 100 to 150. Now works with all melee abilities. Melee damage bonus is no longer decreased when using the Flying Handshake. Increase the time the perk is active to 3 seconds. So that's pretty good as well. And then we have the exotic weapons that are getting buffed. This includes the Bastion, the Fusion Rifle from Season of the Dawn, Saint's Fist PvE melee damage increased from 100 to 300. Now works with all melee abilities. Increase the time the perk is active to 3 seconds. Monte Carlo, where the Callous melee attacks no longer deals reduced melee damage to bosses, mini-bosses, and champions. So this is definitely something to go for because no longer deals reduced melee damage. So you're going to basically deal increased damage. Winter Bite now receives melee damage bonuses from a variety of sources. Reduced enhanced melee damage with ammo to 20% versus boss down from 50 plus. Exotic armor tuning preview. So they're actually going to change the exotics. Let's go over them. Hunter, the Dragon Shadow, and Speed Loader Slacks. So this Dragon Shadow, this is the exotic Hunter chest piece. Now passively increases weapon stability and ready speed. Dodging reloads your equipped weapon. Very nice. No longer reloads holstered weapons. So when you have them away, they don't reload the ones put away. Attacking and activating your dodge ability grants the following effects for a short time. Increased stability and handling, that's a lot actually. Increased move speed, sprint, slide, and ADS strafe speeds, and increase the stat class stat. And speed loader slacks. It'll adjust the tight fit perk where dodging reloads all weapons and grants increased handling and reload speed for you and your nearby and allies, so that's very good. While the buff is active, additional dodges increase the strength of the buff and refresh the timer. Dealing sustained damage grants class ability energy. And then Mask of Bacchus. Effects are now active when either an arc or stasis super is equipped. Rework the light shift where it no longer provides a non-stack and surge damage bonus. Now grants a plus 10 damage for eligible weapons. This includes stasis weapons, arc weapons, and Lord of Wolves. Interesting. Per stack, stacks up to 3 times, while active weapon final blows grants class ability energy. Capri Sting, where they remove the automatic smoke bomb activation when using a melee attack. So it won't be automatic, so apparently it's going to be like a little, like it's going to go set on a timer after you use a melee. Remove true set when dealing damage with a smoke bomb. Then they added, killing weakened targets create a burst of weakening smoke and return smoke bomb energy. That's also pretty good. Oath Keepers. So this one will increase the maximum damage from 150 to 200. Now provides more total damage bonus early in the overdraw. Blight Ranger fixed an issue where cancellation damage was not consistently scaling based on voltaic mirror progress. Adjusted voltaic mirror meter behavior now requires 20% less reflections to reach maximum, fills more evenly. Blocked melee attacks now count as a reflection. Maximum cancellation damage increased by 50%. This is in addition to the fix above. Minimum cancellation damage increased by 550 and now always applies. Blind before dealing damage. Updated visuals, audios, and times of the blinding shockwave to better reflect its impact. We have Crest of Lupi. I don't even know, I think it's Loopy. We have added additional FX. Sustained damage while behind a barricade triggers another smaller healing pulse. Healing your allies grant barricade energy. Phoenix Cradle. Updated VFX on sunspots while the user has Phoenix Cradle to look more clearly supported to allies. Added additional effects. Dealing sustained solar damage in a sunspot extends its duration. Oh, this could be very good as well, actually, for you Solar Titans. Providing solar buffs to allies has the chance to create a sunspot at your feet. MK44 stand-asides. Sprinting with Juggernaut active periodically grants you a stack of static charge, and Spring while amplified creates an area behind you that grants allies speed booster. Very nice. Path of Burning Steps increases the solar weapon damage and ignition damage based on the number of stacks of Roaring Flame you have. Roaring Flame X1/-2 out of 3 grants plus 10, 15, or 20%. Times 1, times 2, times 3 grants 50%, 15, 20 bonus solar damage, and plus 5, 10, 15 bonus ignition damage. And then stacks with surge mods, very nice. Reduce the duration of suspend. Sullen freeze effects applied to you. Ambient leap will now increase the duration of suspend applied by enhanced Drenger's lashes. Actium Warrig. Auto rifles or machine gun final blows increase their stability, ammo generation, and damage, so it stacks up to 10 times. Higher stack counts expire more quickly. Spirit of the Alpha Lupi with Stoicism. Sprint of Alpha Lupi. They're adding your healing your allies grant class stability energy. Warlocks, you guys are getting a Starfire protocol buff kind of thing. So now also activates on radiant damage. Increase the fusion grenade energy gain from increase the fusion grenade energy gain from dealing damage from 2.5 to 5%, and then reduce the fusion grenade energy gain from final blows from 20 to 15. Winds of Sacred Dawn. This one, Wings of Sacred Dawn, combatants are less accurate towards you while Tome of Dawn is active. This is similar to Manticore's effect. So while you're airborne, they'll be less accurate towards you. That's very helpful. Keeps you staying alive. Better chance of staying alive. While a solar super is equipped, solar weapon final blows now grant restoration and reload your stud weapons. That's actually very good. Slower from final blows grant restoration. Oh man, that's gonna be awesome. Elementor's Helm. They added power melee damage, weakens targets. Apply a 50% weaken, and weaken effects applied by the burst via melee or finisher final blows are unchanged. Prometheus Spurs, where it's reworked the perk Ember of Light, while a solar super is equipped. Weapon defeats grant class ability energy, and weapon defeats in a rift grant a different solar verb depending on the rift. So in a healing rift, weapon defeats create pulse that grants radiant to you and your allies, and empowering rift will grant cure to you and your nearby allies. So they're basically kind of like the opposite of each other. So healing will give you empowerment, empowering will give you healing, kind of thing. And then Boots of the Assembler has so much shit. Oh man. Noble Seeker no longer spawns in waves and instead spawns at a constant rate based on fire team size, so it'll spawn, I think, more frequently. Average number of Noble Seekers produced per 8 seconds isn't changed. There's only one per ally in that time period. Noble Seekers tracking range changed from 20 meters to 40 meters always, so from 20 to 40 meters based on the time alive. Noble Seekers will prioritize allies who have not been healed in the last 8 seconds. Now target allies standing in the reproducing them. Yeah, so Noble Seekers can now target allies standing in the reproducing them. Noble Seekers will not target an ally more than once every 4 seconds. Will not detonate when passing near an ally that they are not targeting. They will still detonate if they make a direct effect with an ally that they are not targeting. No longer grants extended rift duration on Noble Seeker's impact with allies, and instead grants class ability engine on Noble Seeker impact with allies. And it scales based on the fire team size. And then Geomag, finally, the last exotic is Geomag Stabilizer. This is the exotic for Chaos Reach. This increases the duration of how long your Chaos Reach super lasts. This reduces the super energy granted by ionic traces to 4% from 7%. Retune sprinting to top off bolt charge. Decrease bolt charge stacks requiring before sprinting will grant additional stacks from 6 to 5. Decrease the amount of time requiring for sprinting to start granting bolt charge from 2 seconds to 1. And increases the rate bolt charge is granted while this effect is active from 1 every 1.5 seconds to 1 every 0.33 seconds. And then you got your final shape loot rewards, so make sure you guys pick these up because many of these will be available and will be available that require a travel unlock during this year. So this is a good opportunity not only to earn them but also complete your journey. To pick up this one, you got the Choir of One, you got the Iconoclast, Transcendent, and the Legend Seal. You got this one with the Unleashed and the Slayer Baron. And then you have Heresy with the Heretic and the Delver Seal. And then you got the jackets and all that other good stuff. But yeah, this is just a quick video. Got known issues, but I'm not going to even bother reading all that. If you guys want to pause the video, then be my guest. But look at that. Step 6 and 9 of the journal quests aren't able to be completed by some players. Luckily for me, that wasn't even a thing that happened because I already finished my Finalities Archicals. And you got some nice art of the Vex. Very, very nice and very professional. And then you got the movie of the week if you guys want to watch that. Yeah, that's just a little look over on what we have for the TWAB this week. If you guys did enjoy it, please comment down below on what melee ability thing I talked about you're most excited for. And just let me know down below in the comment section. And as always, that's just going to bring us to the end of the video. Just a quick video on the summary of the TWAB and what to expect in EdgeOfFate. But it is a lot of talking. I talk very fast. And as always, just want to thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, my name is JVIT. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you later. Have a great day. Bye.